Hi, everyone. You're watching the Self Connection with Kelly, Pietro, and Ginny Brown, where we have conversations with a group of ascended masters known as the multitude of the greater good.
Yes, Kelly is the question asker, and I channel the answers from a group known as the multitude of the greater good. And the multitude, as I call them for short, have access to information from the day of creation to the present time. And they consider all of that within their answers. So, Kelly, go ahead and start with your inquisition.
Okay. So, interesting choice of words considering our conversation earlier. Okay, so one of the topics I've been interested in exploring, or one of the historical beings, if you will, is Thoth. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Thoth. Um, I probably should have pulled up like a quick explanation. Let's see what Googs has to say. Okay, just to make it quick and concise. Thoth, as many are maybe aware of him, was known as an Egyptian god who represented writings, wisdom, magic, and the moon, who was also associated with order, justice, and learning. And, there's this belief that he reincarnated several times and, he was tasked with bringing teachings out into the world, great mysteries or like the mystery teachings, which like we might qualify as like, laws of energy and how energy works and that sort of thing. We might equate it to that in this day. Do you know who I'm talking about, Ginny?
No, I'm not familiar. I've heard of those, but I don't know anything about
Okay.
him. Or even if he was, my question is he actually a real person or a mystical character?
That's a great question to start with. He's also known as like the author of the Emerald Tablets, which again, like another question if those are real or not. So let's start with your question though. Was Thoth um, a living being or a mystical character? And if he was a living being, can you explain if he was human or otherwise?
It is important to understand, my dear, that he is that part of self that is interested in learning, interested in being, interested in allowing, and interested in moving not only himself along, but others as well. As for him being a human creature on the earth plane, we can assure you that he has decided it is best for him to remain in mystical, to remain in mysticism, as that is where he was born and that is how he resides. In our estimation, he is quite able to move himself along differently. However, on the earth plane, he has decided it is right for him not to take a human form, as human form is quite limiting, and he is unable in his expanse of being to be limited. Do not be concerned, all is love.
That was a cool answer. So he was never human.
In our estimation, he is absolutely spiritual and energetic in a higher and greater way. Do not be concerned.
Okay, so can they illuminate the truth or what is true about the Emerald Tablets?
It is important to understand the Emerald Tablets was a configuration of someone's wanting and yearning for a better life. The Emerald Tablets contained what someone believed to be a higher and greater energetic value to not only that person's self, but to all that is. In our estimation, it is something that can be of value. However, it's like they were not in human existence. In our estimation, there's a great deal of energy allowed within those tablets if one were to research on the energetic level, however, not on the physical level.
Okay, so of course I just had to, like, what's the like, because I read about him a long time ago and I couldn't remember, like, did somebody discover them? Like, they're talked about a lot. Supposedly discovered in the 8th century AD by Apollonius of Tyana, a scientist and neo-Pythagorean philosopher he claimed to have found in a cave. So that's not, he didn't, maybe that's who, is that who they're referring to?
It is important to understand that they are of a mythical nature rather than a physical nature. If it is that someone found something, it is not of that category. Do not be concerned.
Okay, because they were saying somebody kind of came up with this.
Yeah,
And that's who I was wondering, like, was it that dude who came up with it? This Apollonius of Tyana? Maybe.
I don't think it matters who.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so, but the practices that are revealed in, and the wisdom that is revealed in what we know today as the Emerald Tablets. I mean, people have studied this, and there's actually like when I read about it, I'm like, oh, this feels like good wisdom. And it feels like an understanding of how energy works and how the universe works.
Mhm.
So, but the multitude say that yeah.
Now, when one comes to the earth plane, one decides what it is that one wishes to know, wishes to learn, wishes to understand, and allows oneself to, it's like allow. In our estimation, it is important to understand that when one comes to the earth plane with a great deal of information, one sometimes chooses to allow oneself the ability and the luxury of writing down that information. If one chooses to call it a tablet, that's fine. If one chooses to call it a manuscript, that's fine. However, in our estimation, it is one's knowing. It is the knowing of one being who has come to the earth plane to expand oneself in such a way. Therefore, one's knowledge will be distributed or disseminated as any other book.
Okay. Okay, well, while we're talking about Thoth, and since he is this being in mysticism, does he have any words of wisdom for us?
It is important to understand that he is quite able to allow himself the ability of being on the energetic level. Therefore, his words would not, it's like, would not make any sense to a human. However, we can tell you that when it is he is ready to accomplish the enthusiasm and the ability of the spoken word, he will do so.
Okay, but is he guiding folks? Because oftentimes I felt I could feel like his presence, or maybe I was tapping into the collective consciousness around what people believe about him. There was like a season of my life that I felt this, and it feels Egyptian. And I know people like, anyone who explores spirituality, there's always like a season of Egypt, it feels like. So, does he guide humans through their spiritual exploration?
It is important to understand he does not have that capability.
Ah, period, end of story.
That's interesting.
That's the shortest answer they've ever given.
Mhm.
Okay, so what is,
Other than,
oh,
the
yeah,
other short answer is that's not our expertise. That's another answer they
oh,
give.
yeah. That wasn't an answer to this, but you're saying, I get it.
Short answer.
So what is within his expertise as it pertains to his influence on humanity?
It is important to understand that he is quite capable of, it's like feeling and healing and allowing. However, it is not able to be understood on the earth plane. It is of an energetic level, unbeknownst to mankind. Therefore, in our estimation, he will continue in this capacity until it is time for him to move forward. Do not be concerned, all is love.
So curious, like, is he, would you equate him to like a soul? Or would you equate his existence to, again, like the collective consciousness of humanity, like actually created this being we call Thoth?
It is important to understand that it is a bit of both and a bit of neither. He is his own capacity of being. He is also a myth on the earth plane. Therefore, the myth has been expanded and expanded and expanded to allow ones on the earth plane to believe what they believe to be truth in our estimation. It is all inexplicable on the earth plane as it is it's like a consciousness on the spiritual plane.
All right, Billy Carson has some explaining to do. Do you know who he is?
No, I don't.
He talks about Thoth a lot. He's like an Egyptologist and he's got some interesting theories and perceptions about Egypt.
Yeah.
Fascinating to listen to, but also like, I don't know, makes you think. Um, okay, well, in the same theme of historical spiritual figures and tablets,
Okay.
I wanted to ask about Moses.
Okay.
So, my question. Okay, so were the tablets that Moses came down from the mountain with, did those actually, were those actually physical objects? And did he channel those writings? What is the truth around that?
It is important to understand that Moses was a human on the earth plane. He did actually exist on the earth plane, and he has lived many lifetimes since that lifetime. However, the tablets that you refer to are mythical. They are that part that has been imparted to Moses on the spiritual level, and then Moses shared. And the way it is conveyed to the world, as in tablets, the written word, it was written. However, Moses wrote it when he came down from the mountain. It is not a physical tablet, it is a spiritual yet physical knowing that was manifested and expanded, extended, and shared. Do not be concerned, all is love.
They didn't etch it in stone. He maybe wrote it on papyrus or something, a scroll or something.
It is important to understand it was the method of the time.
Whatever.
And as it was acceptable at the time, there were many ways to expand upon the information. So therefore it was.
Okay. So, well, let's stay with Moses for a bit. Thank you. I'm grateful for all of this. Thank you, multitude. What is the truth about, was it raining 40 days and 40 nights and the ark with the animals compared to what we have been told. We've been told, you know, two of every kind of animal, or every kind of animal. I can't imagine it's in the world, but I think that's how the Bible portrays it. It's probably like in Moses's area. That it rained for 40 days, 40 nights, and then, you know, some like a Billy Carson will say, like, oh, I won't even get into that. That's just off topic, but whatever. Okay, so what is the truth about Moses, the ark, the animals, the flooding of the entire earth?
It is important to understand that there was a great deal of misinformation given about or upon the accumulation of it's like information. In our estimation, there was there was no ark, there was no rain, there was a period of depression, a period of downtrodden beings portrayed as rain. Therefore, it was a very poor time of being in our estimation. There was that part of self that said, hey, it's time to snap out of this. It's time to move yourself along. Therefore, they rose up within themselves and they moved forward in their trek along their journey to find a better place of being. Sometimes it was within themselves. Sometimes it was a physical place of being, therefore moving themselves to not only a higher and greater plane of spiritual knowing, but a higher and greater existence of being with it's like a safety aspect to it. Therefore, in our estimation, the way it was portrayed is that it rained. It was 40 days and 40 nights. However, it was that part of self that was in a depressed, unhappy place that needed to find its movement within the whole, it's like the whole group, the capacity of each and every other one at the time, like within that section of being, in order to move themselves along. In our estimation, they were able to move beautifully. However, it has nothing to do with rain and arcs and animals. Do not be concerned, all is well.
So what was the cause, or how can they explain this collective depression? What was the root cause?
It's important to understand that each and every other one on the earth plane at that time was like, it's like under the thumb. There was a lot of what one might call dictatorship at the time. There was a lot of rules and regulations and inability to be who one was. Therefore, in our estimation, this group actually was a rebellion and moved themselves out of the depressed state of being. Depressed not only, it's like in the mental state, but depressed in the physical state. So they moved themselves to a better place and a better state of knowing. Do not be concerned.
So what comes to mind is like 40 days and 40 night of rain, RAIN. Maybe it was of rain, REIN, of being rained over.
REIGN.
Sorry, REIGN. I can spell. Oh, that's so interesting. So, okay, well, in Moses' story was let my people go, right? The slaves of Egypt.
Right.
And then there's the parting of the Red Sea. Can they explain the truth about that?
It is important to understand there were many, what do you want to call them? Can't think of the word.
Fables?
No, it's like catastrophe. Very,
Yeah, because there was also the plagues, right?
there were many, whatever they are along the way. And those people had a great deal to deal with. So it was portrayed as the opening of the Red Sea. However, as they moved forward and were able to move themselves to a higher and better place, they were able to conquer all of these it's like stumbling blocks, these things in their way. And this one particular one was portrayed as an opening in the Red Sea as they were able to move beyond this particular stumbling block.
This is a metaphor.
Yeah. It's like 90% of the information that you have received is a metaphor.
Okay, so what about the plagues? Like the locusts and what were they? I don't need to say them all. I'm sure they understand. What's the truth about
It's
that?
important to understand that each one was portrayed as it's like a sign of the times. If it was a negative experience, it was applied as to be a negative
Like an omen,
label. What?
like an omen.
Yeah, or labeled. They just labeled it as
Okay,
a negative experience by a plague or a locust or whatever it is that was, like it storms.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm reading Dolores Cannon's book called Jesus and the Essenes.
Yeah.
And in that book, she hypnotizes, one of her clients comes to her for hypnosis, past life regression, and in her past life, she was one of Jesus's teachers, right? And the she's interviewing this teacher about biblical stories and stuff, and one of them was about all of the plagues. And the explanation given from that person that, is in this hypnotic state was, there was like a volcano eruption upstream, and that caused the rivers to run red, and then that caused the locusts to flee the area and come into. Is there truth to that interpretation of the story?
It is important to understand that there were volcanoes at the time. There was a great deal of fear around a volcano. And as the lava flowed, it flowed red and it flowed into the ocean. And that is the analogy that was applied as as the lava hardened and became it's like able to be walked upon.
Yeah.
It was the red, so it opened the opening to the Red Sea. Ah,
Gosh. Okay, that wasn't even discussed in the book.
oh
So
no,
that was new. Wow. I was like more asking about how like the rivers ran red and they thought it was blood, and this person's explanation was no, it was just the volcano, like the iron turned the water red or something. I might be getting it wrong.
yeah, the
Wow.
volcano, the lava was red, and then it parted because it had cooled off, and then they could walk across it.
Wow. Mind blown.
I never thought of that either. That's
Yeah.
interesting. That makes sense.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So how much of this of what is spoken about in this book, Jesus and the Essenes, how much of it is true?
It is important to understand there's a great deal of truth and a great deal of misconception. There is that part of truth that is, it's like inherent. However, it's like it is explained.
Mhm.
The way it's explained is a misconception.
Yeah, you can tell it's explained from the lens of the times. This person that, you know, I think his name is Sudi, right? So the woman under hypnosis, when you do the past life regression, it's the life of Sudi. I might be saying it wrong, but anyway, you can tell that he speaks from the lens of his time and their perception and his level of consciousness. So, take that with a grain of salt.
Right.
Okay.
But I like that about the volcano.
I know,
So
mind blown.
sticking with me. I had never would have thought about that.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's totally staying with me too. Like I just want to sit with that and visualize it and
right.
almost go back into the Bible and read the story around it to see if it fits, and
Mhm.
it's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so one more thing, kind of in this category, kind of sort of only because they come up, like if you're listening to other people talk about the history of Egypt and, excuse me, Thoth and what his role was, and the stories that people tell. There's this story of the Anunnaki. I'm gonna get it wrong. Let me just um it's like the Anunnaki supposedly are a group of ancient Sumerians. But what I get is this idea that they were like gods. Yeah, class of gods within the ancient Mesopotamian pantheon. And that like they came to Earth and seeded the Earth, and that's the beginning of humans. What's true about that? Or false?
It is important to understand there is a great deal more to the story than is revealed there. They are a series of beings, 99%. I'm getting we're not human. However, we can tell you there are those parts that have been expanded upon that are correct, but 99% of the information is incorrect. We can tell you that they move forward in great love of humanity. However, they are not human.
And they did not seed humans on this earth,
In our
correct?
estimation, humans, uh, let's just ask how they came to the earth because I'm not getting anything.
Yeah, how were humans created and how did they come to the earth?
It is important to understand that humans came to the earth of their own uh, initiative, of their own wanting to expand themselves and allow themselves the growth. And it was the best, most compatible way for a being to expand oneself. Therefore, one decided that the earth plane was the highest, greatest, and most compatible way for one to grow in our estimation. It is not a matter so much of how one came to be on the earth plane. It is, however, a matter of knowing that each one comes to the earth plane of their own free will. They choose to come, they choose what they wish to learn and know, and they choose what they wish to share. In our estimation, it is the greater picture than how one came to the earth plane.
Okay, well, I'm still gonna ask more. Because that's because I feel like I can interpret that in two different ways. I can interpret that as like when you said humans came and you even did this, right? I the two things that came to me was like, does that mean they came from somewhere else, like another planet or another dimension? Like their souls came incarnated. Like in other words, humans first existed in some like a spiritual world, another dimension, and then came here, incarnated here? Or did they actually exist physically somewhere else and then arrive here?
It is important to understand that as it is that each one chooses to come to the earth plane, they choose how to come to the earth plane. Some come of their own volition, and some come with the help of another. In our estimation, there are those on the earth plane who believe that they have just come. There are those on the earth plane that believe that they have been planted here. There are those on the earth plane who believe that they have been seeded, so to speak, by an alien race. In our estimation, it is all truth and it is all mistruth. Do not be concerned, all is love.
Okay, so when they say that, I think it is all truth because they believe it's their truth. But then they say it's all misconception, which means it's not true.
Right.
So what is true?
It is important to understand that each one comes to their own, to the earth plane of their own free will in the way they choose to come. Some come with love, some come with inability to be who they are, and some come in a higher and greater way. However, the physicality of a person is that part of self that has allowed itself to be transported in one way or another. And when it is that one chooses to come to the earth plane as a human, it needs help from others. Therefore, it is freely given from it's like from the creator of the universe and the creator of all that is. And in our estimation, it does not matter. What matters is one comes to the earth plane. Yeah.
Okay, so then is there a singular creator for our universe and separate creators for other universes? And then is there a creator that oversees all universes and all creators?
It is important to understand there is source energy. Source energy is the creator. Therefore, source energy is it's like the divisor, the one who allows itself to be incorporated in many different ways. It also allows itself to have the help that it requires to move oneself along. Therefore, if you choose to call them creators, that is fine. However, they are it's like an extension of source energy, allowing itself to expand differently. There are those on the earth plane who believe they are a creator. However, they are only the creator of self. In our estimation, each one is a part of source energy, and each one moves oneself along in and within source energy. However, each one allows oneself the being that one needs, the allowing that one needs, and the ability to be who one is on the higher and greater level, as well as on the physical level.
Okay,
That's all you're going to get.
that's fine. But I'm asking simple questions here about how the universe works. My mind is never satisfied.
Well, they are being very vague.
But also, they were pretty specific about other stuff, so I can't knock them. Okay, I want to go back to, because I'm like into this Dolores Cannon book, and they talk about Jesus and John the Baptist growing, receiving teachings from a community known as, and I'm going to say it wrong, the Qumran. And this community supposedly like held, like their purpose was like they were wisdom keepers, and their purpose was to keep the knowledge alive and go out and spread the teachings and the knowledge and the wisdom. And when I think about that and when I hear like what this person Sudi is talking about, it's like, again, it's like he calls them laws. And I think about like universal laws, laws of the universe, laws of energy, how to heal using energy, and how to balance oneself through practice. So the question, I guess, I actually don't even know. Let's see, what am I going to ask? I guess I'm going to ask, was the Qumran, I hope I'm saying it right, did it actually exist? And is there, what can they share with us about that community?
It is important to understand that when each one comes to the earth plane, they set up a network of help. There are the guides, there are the angels, there are those of source energy who expand their information, and impart their information. Therefore, the Qumran, as you call it, is that part of the it's like the experience, this spiritual network. I'm seeing like a spider web, the spiritual network that allows the energy to flow and to grow and to expand and to be imparted to those on the earth plane requiring the help and the love and care and understanding. So my interpretation of that is it's like they're guides. It's like the guides who are in connection with the Akashic records, and the Akashic records is far older than human beings, and it's all, in my opinion, and it's all connected to source energy. So all that information is there, and that's what's flowing through like this spider web.
But it's actual humans, right? And
Well, on the spiritual level, it's the guides. It's your guides and your helpers and your angels. And the information is free to flow. And it flows to the humans who then are able to teach it and expand it and spread it out on the earth plane.
And so that's who this community was. They were dedicated to being in connection with those teachings and sharing with others.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
In our estimation, my dear, your explanation is quite pertinent. However, it is short-sighted.
Oh,
It is a great deal more than just those on the earth plane. It is information imparted to each and every other one in each and every other area of being, whether it be on the earth plane or elsewhere. Do not be concerned.
okay. So it's almost like the souls of the human, like there's the human aspect that these people came and incarnated, taught, like kept the wisdom. But then on the soul level, they also help others like as spirit guides.
Well, the way I understand it is like the people didn't come and do that. People came and connected with their information, connected with their guides, connected and received the information, and then were able to expand it, which I guess is just
Semantics.
is just minutia.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but you know, but that's how I'm seeing is the information came and was expanded as it's like as required. You get some information and you expand that, and then when you're ready, you receive more and you expand on that. So it's just a continual. It's not like you come with all that information
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
can reach.
You're constantly in connection and receiving and expanding.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
So were the humans that were part of this community, were they actually the ones who, I want to say taught, but that's not how they would explain it, at least in this book. Were they the ones who assisted Jesus and John the Baptist in connecting and expanding themselves into their fullness here on earth?
Yeah, it is important to understand that they had already been, they had already incarnated many times before.
They meaning Jesus and John?
John
Yeah.
and others. And they were quite well aware of what was required in this lifetime. It's kind of like they set up before they came. They knew what they were going to need, and they brought a lot of it with them. Therefore, it's like, okay, so it's that plus that included others and their teaching and their knowing, and they brought them as well. It's because we don't come on our own. We make our networks and we all choose to come at the same time or not, whatever it is. But it is important to understand that they brought their own knowing as well as their own helpers, therefore expanding the information and the knowing and allowing whatever is required to come to them, to come to them.
Yeah. This book is so cool. I recommend it to anyone. It's like, I don't know, it almost feels like it's setting some of the records straight as to like what really happened back then. Again,
Yes,
I think it's
I don't think you mentioned the name of it though.
Jesus and the Essenes,
Okay,
Essenes, Dolores Cannon.
yeah, okay.
Love
I know
it.
you're really happy with that book.
Like I can't put it down, and I have a hard time reading. I'm a really slow reader. I prefer audiobooks, probably because I need to be doing something while I'm listening. It's really hard for me to just sit down and read. But I do before bed, and it's like I can't put it down. I was up till 1 in the morning last night reading it because it was so cool. Okay, I think okay, I'll oh, funny. Some of the questions that I didn't plan on asking tonight, we've got there anyway. That always happens, and I love that. So, okay, this is going to be, I think, my last question. Okay, well, let me like set it up first. So there's two terms we hear about often, uh, again, in religious contexts, or I don't know if it's in the Bible or what. The term Yahweh, which I think in, at least like when I'm reading this book, they're like, at the time, like, I think this is what the Jewish people would call God, right? Yahweh. But then there's also the Elohim, and that is the name that was revealed to Moses, meaning self-existent one, or I am that I am, or as Lord. Okay, these two terms, Elohim, Yahweh. What can the multitude clarify for us about the truth, what is true about Yahweh or Elohim?
It is important to understand that when Jesus came to the earth plane, he came to allow himself to expand. Therefore, in our estimation, he allowed himself to be used in a way, allowed himself to be exposed as being greater than he actually is, allowing those on the earth plane to venerate him, allowing those on the earth plane to name him better than anyone else. And those are terms used to denote someone is better than. In our estimation, you would be wise to understand those are terms of endearment as well as terms of elevation. And it's like the other word flew, but it's like those are I don't know,
Like
they're
inflated sense of who someone is, or
well, what I'm getting is like they put them on a pedestal and they
yeah,
call them these names, and but they did it out of love, you know. They're terms of showing one's respect for one. In our estimation, those terms may have a different meaning on the earth plane in today's time. However, at that time, they were a means of allowing oneself to show someone the care and the love that was there for them.
thank you.
You're quite welcome. In our estimation, my dear, there's a great deal more. It's like going on or happening at that time than one can understand on the earth plane. 99% of the change of the love and care was it's like happening or being commuted or committed or happening on the spiritual plane. Therefore, on the earth plane, there was no frame of reference. There was no way to explain what was actually happening. Therefore, the people of the time were it's like relegated to use the terms that they had at the time. Do not be concerned.
I get this feeling like when I tune into that time period, it's like this weird juxtaposition of it feels like they were very much this is such a generalization, so I apologize, but the general feel I get is like downtrodden,
Mhm.
low level of, like I originally thought like low level of consciousness, like we just work, we get through our day, we eat our meals, we go to sleep, we get up, we do the same thing, and like there's no time to explore spiritual concepts and sit back and ponder the universe. It's like lower chakra stuff. That's like the feeling I get. Then I think about how they were, they seemed, or they seem when I tune into it, like at the same time, very open to mystical happenings. Like, again, it's like a way of maybe understanding the weather as like the gods are speaking or whatever. So, like, there was this faith simultaneously with this like lower chakra existence, but no time to ponder the faith and get curious about it or something. It's just really like interesting. I don't know if that's a true explanation of how things were, but that might just be my wandering mind, but versus my intuition.
It's important to understand that in our estimation, there was much of that happening. However, there was also the ability and it's like the time to allow oneself the ability to explore, as you put it, things that were beyond one's control, beyond one's understanding at the time, and allow oneself to be uplifted in such a way. It is not so much downtrodden. It was, it's like a way of the time. There was work, there was love, there was care, there was moving forward in the only way that they knew how. In our estimation, it was a matter of expanding oneself to move forward in a higher and greater way over time on the earth plane, as in the spiritual, it was not required. However, an expansion on the earth plane was required in order for one to expand themselves on the spiritual level. Do not be concerned.
Yeah, which kind of goes back to like the people of Moses's time, like standing up for themselves and getting out from under the thumb. Yeah, reading this book, like hearing about the Qumran, it's like they really did spend time pondering the mysteries of the universe and how, learning, like focusing on channeling energy. And so like it's kind of opened my eyes to like, well, what you've been thinking might not be true there. So
Yeah. Well, I think, you go back to the Bible, right?
yeah,
So I've never read the Bible, but I
me
did
neither.
have
So
church history and Bible history coming in elementary school and learned a lot that way. But what I also learned somewhere along the way is that it was an explanation of things at the time and how they worked at the time, which was quite different than how they work today. And it's just what we were talking about, how the expansion and the growth and misinterpretation, like of the Red Sea, it wasn't a misinterpretation, but it was of the time how they explained it.
yeah, a lot of
Channeled, could have been channeled information too.
I was gonna say I've never read the Bible, but I read it in high school, strangely enough. I look back at my life and I'm like, wow, I really have been interested in spirituality my whole life. I just never connected the dots. But I remember going to a Bible study. Now you know me, Ginny. I don't wake up in the morning. I was never a morning person. But
Yeah,
for some reason, I got my butt out of bed once a week to do Bible study. And I know the reason. It was because there were chocolate chip muffins there. And
okay.
we weren't really allowed to have a lot of sweets at home. So I was like, I'm gonna get my chocolate chip muffin. Um, and I went to Bible study and I actually still have the same Bible. I have it on my nightstand because after reading this book, I'm like, I think I might want to read it again. Because when I read it in high school, I was like, this is like wars and nothing's like clicking for me. Like, this is what we're all excited about. Is this book? Like, I don't, maybe with fresh eyes, but that's like, I'm gonna have to find an audiobook on that.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think, oh, sorry.
But my mother used to always say, any port in the storm. And if chocolate muffins is what it got to get you to go, then
Yeah,
that's what you needed. That was the port in the storm.
yeah, except, I mean, I don't think I got much out of Bible study except for the
So
muffins.
maybe not on the conscious level or not then.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember certain things
Still
like hitting
remember,
me.
you still remember doing it. It was important to you.
Yeah, and if you look at my Bible, I have quotes on the outside and along the spine, and it's like, so I was clearly moved enough to write those things, but
Right,
I think I've been on a mission to figure out my own truth and not
right.
subscribe to any doctrine.
Yeah,
I like studying all of the beliefs and finding the common thread.
yeah. I'm sure there are some.
Yeah, the things that connect us rather than divide us.
Yeah,
So that's all my questions tonight. Unless you have questions, Ginny.
not really.
And if,
I ask them or say along the way
yeah.
what's on my mind. So
So unless the multitude has any closing comments,
it's like, oh, of course they do.
yeah, we do. We'll take them. Happy to hear it.
It is important to understand that each and every one on the earth plane has come to the earth plane for a reason. They have come to be, to expand, to allow, to grow. Some have come to learn, some have come to experience, some have come to share, some have come to teach. In our estimation, all are important. All parts of one's being are important. And it is right and it is time for each one to move forward in the best way they know how, as when they move forward, they will see their next step and their next step and their next step. Do not be concerned, all is love.
Thank you.
There you go.
What a great night. I feel like I got so many things answered.
Good, I'm glad.
And actually, for anyone watching this, I mean, I don't know when we'll get this one up, but Ginny often has, and she does have some coming up in person, local to Newtown, Connecticut, if you're in the area. She's got a 3-part series where she'll channel and answer your questions. She'll channel Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, and Jesus answering your questions. So you'll get to ask your questions of those ascended masters, and Ginny will channel the answers from them for you. And so the first one is September 8th, 1 p.m. in Newtown. And then it's every other week after that. And then after those 3, it's come with any questions and ask the multitude your personal questions. So visit her website for all the fun details. What's the website again, Ginny?
They're not on that, but if you go to my website, or you can email me at Ginny@ginnybrown.net or heartandhealing@hotmail.com. Each one will work. And I can forward you the information from there.
And she may even have some on Zoom coming up, MMJ series, right? It's not determined yet, but maybe.
Yeah, maybe in winter time.
So
I
if you
don't.
want to be on her newsletter to be alerted of that, make sure you send her an email as well, because that would be really great for those of our folks in our audience who are not local to us. So,
And I'll be happy to add you to my email distribution list.
yeah. And those are always fun nights, really and truly.
Yeah, those are good.
So, thanks everyone for tuning in.
Yes. Thank you, Kelly, for all your questions.
Thank you for channeling,
Always
and
happy
thanks
to-
to the multitude.
Yeah, we are most pleased to be a part of the situation, as we are always interested in allowing the sharing of who we are and what we know. Thank you in gratitude and with love.
Yeah, you're
That was,
welcome.
yeah.
Yeah, that was nice.
So thank you, everybody. I hope you will come see us again. And if you are local to Newtown, Connecticut, I'd be happy to have you come and join in on the conversations with the masters. So thank you, Kelly.
Thanks, Ginny. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time on the Self Connection.
Okay, bye-bye.